Hello, everybody. My name is Rodgon. I am an artist, a designer, a teacher, a drawing expert in the area of cartooning. And today we are going to be drawing together. So grab your sketchbooks and let's go. So I'm just setting up the YouTube as I always do so we can get the chat going. There you go. Always do. Haha, the delay. All right, so we have everything going. Hello, everybody. My name is Rodrigo Gonzalez. You might know me as Rodgon the artist. I am a person that literally draws here so that I can teach you guys how to draw fun things. I overemphasize the idea of having good fundamentals because good fundamentals lead to good cartoons. Good fundamentals lead to good art. So, fundamentals are awesome. So, I heavily focus on being able to create things from memory and to also work on your perspective and anatomy and all that set that you guys do not like to do. So I'm here to make it fun for you. All right. So while I recap what we did in our last stream, we're going to be talking about Artblock. So Artblock is it's a topic that a lot of people use as like the demon in our story, right? A lot of people categorize Artblock as like whenever they are just not feeling creative or they can't figure something out, that's what they think Artblock is. I have a slightly different perspective on it. I think that normally, if we are people that have like a studious like mind, like a scholar type of like field to us, like to our minds, we're never going to be really bored. We're not going to really not know what to do or what to play with because we're going to constantly be looking for something new to learn. Now, we have this mindset when we start learning how to draw, right? We all have this mindset. We all have this awesome mindset like, oh my God, I get to draw this. Oh, I learned how to draw a tank. I can draw tanks now. Yes, I can draw tanks. Do you remember how excited you were the first time you were able to draw something that you liked? That you were like, yeah, I drew that. Yeah. Well, essentially, we chase that feeling all of our careers. Okay? That feeling of wanting to draw something cool is never really far away from our brains. So, what we do is we try to stylize everything and we try to like figure out like how to draw something really cool instead of learning how to actually draw it. And what do I mean by that? Like, I mean, whenever, for example, and I'm going to call out a lot of you guys right now. So sorry if you feel like, like I'm calling you out, but I love you and I don't mean anything that I say in like a negative connotation, okay? But a lot of you love your own style. Love it so much. And you guys refuse to do anything outside of your style, right? Oh, why should I have to draw real heads? Why do I have to draw portraits? Why do I have to draw cartoons? I'm a tattoo artist. I'm a blah, blah, blah. I'm a, like, whatever you are, if you're a fine artist and you can't cartoon, then I'm sorry, but there's something wrong in your skill set. Like, Artblock comes mostly from people that have a single artistic vision in their brain, as in like, I'm gonna be an animator and that's the only thing I'm gonna ever be. I'm gonna be a graphic designer and I hate doing anything other than graphic design. Mentalities like that are the reason you get Artblock. Right? When you start categorizing yourself as a certain type of designer, instead of just knowing that you're a creative human being, right? Your creative mind. Like there's categorizing it into like minuscule parts like graphic design, animation, all that stuff. Yeah, it maybe is your specialty, but that's not just all you are. It's not your identity. It's not who you are, right? So when people get stuck in those mindsets of like, I am just this and everything else sucks. Well, when you run out of things to do or the motivation to do that one piece of art or that type of art that you like, when you run out of that motivation and that drive, because it's not never ending either, like you have like a certain amount of finite amount of like energy in you for different things, and creativity is a certain type of energy that you need to take account of. Not like hippy dippy like stuff like chakra, chakras. I don't know. Energies in general like come in different ways, and your creative energy is very valuable. Not to sound like a hippie or anything like that, but have you ever felt drained after a day of just drawing when it's not a physical trait? That's probably because you were drained in some way or another, mentally or emotionally or whatever, due to how you were painting, drawing, creating, or doing anything of that type of nature. Well, in order to defeat or not even get into the situation where you feel like you are art blocked, is just to have different ways to create the things that are in your brain. The ideas that you have in your brain have only the outlets that you allow it. So if you don't provide it multiple outlets, like it's going to be like, imagine telling a kid to play the piano all the time and then no other musical instruments. No other musical instruments. You don't get to touch anything else, even though you're like a prodigy. You don't get to touch anything else. That's essentially what you're telling your brain whenever you like segment yourself into like a little tiny minuscule part of art. Like, oh, you get to be creative, but only in this way. No, I'm not a sculptor. I don't touch sculpting. Oh, I'm not a fine artist. I don't touch acrylics. Acrylics are for fine artists. Ugh. Like, how dumb does that sound? It's a tool. It's just a tool, and you can create combinations and like remix life drawing and real life drawing with cartooning and come up with caricatures. Exaggerate the living hell out of it. Have fun. Be like Kruger. Kruger is like this amazing caricature artist that just paints realistically but exaggerated. It's fantastic. It's amazing. It's like when you start combining your skill sets, like you just become a much more well-rounded artist, right? And you also end up in a situation where you don't feel like you're art blocked because you always have something new to learn. You always have something new that you can go try. And then once you actually start doing that, odds are your creative juices will just start flowing again. You'll be like, oh shit, okay, well I just learned how to do this. Now I can apply this to all the other things that I had before, therefore opening up all those possibilities once again and getting you excited about your artwork again, right? Because you get to revisit it and you get to make more like awesome things with it now that you understand something new, now that you have experienced more life, right? Because just experiencing life in general gives you like inspiration sometimes. It could be bad, it could be happy, it could be sad, it could be like angry, frustrating, but it's all things that you can use as fuel for your art. Allow your emotions to dictate what you draw. If you're not feeling happy that day, try to draw that, right? Get it out of your system and push it out into the internet, like for people to just like love to death until, all that sadness is gone away. Like there's ways to use art as therapy. And, getting past art block requires sometimes that kind of therapy. It requires for you to take care of yourself, analyze yourself. You need to understand why you're feeling unmotivated what is the source of this unmotivation and how can you possibly move past it, because it's such an individualistic thing. It's like saying, how can I not be angry? Right? It's that generalized. It's like everybody's going to get art block differently. It's a very weird like process, but just like being angry, there's ways to just control it and get past it and not let it affect your life or your job. Because as creatives, art block in our jobs, especially if you're just a freelancer, holy shit, that can cost you money. That can cost you jobs, that can cost you possibilities, that can cost you all that shit. So in order to be able to avoid it as much as possible, we have to stay as creative and happy and motivated as possible. So that's why I really, really tell you guys to pursue the things that you guys love, right? If you guys aren't pursuing the things that you love, when it comes down to your careers creatively, it's going to be a very tough career for you. If you're in it just for the money, man, you chose the wrong profession for money. You chose a very wrong profession for money. I'm sorry to say this, but artists are normally not known to just be like extravagantly rich, unless it's a very minute amount of artists that get like, all those rich people that patron them and then they like buy their things for like quadrillion dollars to tax write off. It's like, I need rich friends so they can tax write off with me. I wish. That's like winning the lottery. It's like, oh, my rich pal bought my banana on a stapler for $6 million. Oh, I am such a fine artist. Like, nah, dude, you just got really lucky. Like, I don't put down like contemporary art like that or anything really. Like, but yeah, there's levels of art, and yeah, that's all I will say. All right, so let's get onto our actual we have been talking about our lesson today, so we don't really need to talk about like much about that. But we are going to give you exercises so that you guys know what to do whenever you are doing art block. Deal? So I'm gonna give you guys a couple little exercises. This is cute. So when I went to Scotland, I met a couple beautiful young kids. One of them was Marley, and the other one was Luna. Luna is a very interesting kid. So I told her to draw in my sketchbook, and now I will go in and draw like a story being told from these. But she has an interesting mind, that one. All right. Here's my pen. Okay. So let's see, art block. Well, the one first exercise that I like to do whenever I do have some sort of art block related issue is I like to just put my pen on the paper and start drawing shapes. This normally consists of entire pages of drawing spheres and mapping their surfaces in different ways. And then just literally practicing my foundations over and over and over, circles, maybe eyeballs looking in different directions. Anything that's going to reinforce my skill sets. Zoom, powers. Right, so I'm going to be constantly... This shape is a very constant shape whenever you draw absolutely anything. So getting used to drawing basic shapes and mapping out the surfaces, maybe drawing things on top of these, just to get used to little minuscule things on top of your objects, right? Exercises like this, finding one side and then the other, or finding like the poles on both sides. Little exercises like this are what help you become better at foreshortening. They help you be better at mapping out things like the jaw. If the jaw is hard for you, It's because you're not seeing through your objects and you're just drawing through style. Because the jaw is relatively easy. It's just a little scoop that goes from one side of the ear, around your neck, that's a tube, boop, 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 into the other side of the face, which is just a sphere. So things like that become a lot easier to see. If this is hard for you, stuff like this is hard for you, then just go back and practice your spheres. Do one side, do the other, and then connect it with a line. It doesn't have to be like the L shape or whatever. Just connect it with a line. And then get used to drawing that shape. Eventually, you're going to get to the point where you can draw anything, any shape, and you'll be able to map out both sides really quickly, and you'll start be able to cut out shapes out of your spheres. Once you start cutting them out, you'll start just naturally sculpting your characters instead of drawing them. Right? At one point, it's going to feel more like you're sculpting and carving and etching out of something that's there, as opposed to just drawing a line. And that's why I call them construction lines, because you're constructing your character. Like, I am like essentially seeing this more akin of how you would build a 3D character in a 3D modeling program than I am like with like, oh, well, you get a figure 8 and then you divide that and you have your eyes. Right? When you learn through techniques like that, you don't really understand. You learn to draw it and replicate it, but you don't understand it. When you start thinking, okay, this is an eyeball, and then the eyelids are going around the eye. Right? Creating an upward angle maybe, so maybe a little bit higher. And then you start mapping out your iris like this, more so than through style. Well, now you already know that that eyeball is that big, so just draw another eyeball, draw another hemisphere, and then now you have this eye. And then you put a nose bridge in between to block a little bit, and now you have a face. But that's because I'm seeing things as a three-dimensional shape. And then you can just go on and build your whole skeletal system through there. Your eye socket, your cheekbones, your teeth. And then you can just literally, like little by little, start building your skeletal system up. Just from just knowing one single element being a three-dimensional shape. So it all starts from being able to just see this basic concept of and then if you have problems doing this, practice putting like rubber bands on top. Imagine you're just like stretching it out and then just putting it and snapping it in place. And then the back, just do it with like dotted lines or something. Something that allows you to visualize it but not get it all messy. So you can do it multiple times. Hard line, dotted line. So that's another way that you guys can practice. You guys can practice doing this with boxes. They don't even have to be perfect boxes, honestly. Just get used to drawing the front and the back of your shapes so that whenever you are drawing anything, you can visualize the front, the back. The ears will not be an issue anymore. Like, hair will be incredibly easy for you at this point because hair is literally just things that wrap around your head. Right? So if you know how to wrap something around something, you're not going to have an issue with it anymore. You're going to be able to do all these luxurious things that like blow and like curl and everything because you know that this is just a shape and everything's just wrapping around it. Ponytails become easy because now you know where the back of the head is. So now you can just map out ponytails. And it's such a necessary skill set to like get better. Like you can become really good without knowing this. Oh, you can become amazing. You can have an entire lifetime career without understanding any of this. But if someone's giving you advice after 20 years of me drawing, I discovered, finally unlocked this, and I feel like the possibilities are endless now. Like I can straight up just draw anything I want in an appealing way and more aesthetically, and then I just feel excited about creating. So it's not just me learning something new. Now I'm like, oh my god, I can draw things really cool now. Like perspective becomes a non-issue because now you're able to just move around your objects as needed. So you can start moving them and practicing little, practice small, practice with like smaller shapes until you get good at those, and then move on to something more complex by starting to carve out your shape more. So you can take those same sketches and try to like build those up to something a little bit more detailed. But getting used to it like this, even more so, even less, even easier. Just divide and then add eyeballs to it. And get used to drawing the shape in different perspectives. Get used to drawing this so that you can do this, so that you can do this, so that you can do things like this. Very easy. I'm just following the eyeballs here. Right? I'm just following my eyeballs. I'm just going to draw random eyebrows, like floppity all over the place. But I know that these connect to the top of my eye socket, so they curve back in into the eyeball. Boom. They curve back in onto the eyeball. And that creates this little pocket of shadows right there. Okay. Once you have something like that, then I have a couple things. The eyeball is going to show me where my eye socket is, and then therefore my cheekbone. Boom. This cheekbone has to be matched on this side, kind of like an ear. If you draw an ear on this side, you have to draw an ear on that side. So if you have this shape right here, the cheekbone extends right there. This normally goes into my nose canal, but you don't really see that because your nose is normally there. Your nose comes out of this little pocket inside of your skull. This is cartilage, and this can be easily represented by just drawing a diamond and then drawing your nostrils on the bottom part. So you have your diamond, nostrils. Perfect. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Then the next thing would be to maybe figure out what the mouth would be doing. And I have a really fun way to draw mouths. But before I show you guys how like this silly way of drawing mouths is, I want you guys to hit that like button, subscribe, all this shit. Oh, cool. Bartosz Miski Wicks sent £1.49. Thank you, dude. Like, I didn't know you could do that. That's really cool. Let's see. Hold on. If anybody feels inclined on YouTube to buy me a coffee, there is ways that you guys can do that, and I just posted it. Emily Arts, hi Rod in chat. Another day, another drawing session. Woohoo! Mr. Garrett, hey Rod. Mr. Garrett, nice to see you back on your stream. Yeah, I mean, I've been back for a while. It's been a considerable amount of time. Like, I've been drawing and more consistently this year than I have any other time in my life. And I really think it's just mostly because for the first time in my freaking life, I'm putting me first. I'm putting me. Not a girlfriend, not a wife, not a nothing. It's me. This year it's me, and just by doing that alone, I have won competitions that I never thought I would even be able to. I got put into Imagine Effects. I've gotten notoriety from like animation studios and very big people in the industry. And I'm like, woo! And I never would have been able to do that in my relationship. And not because it's women or anything. I just would not have been able to do that. Like, I would not have been supported to do that. I would not have been told, like, yeah, go for it, because it would have been inconvenient. So, you know, this year has been amazing. I've been having super good this year. Okay, so let's see. Let's draw the mouth. So, the mouth is gonna be more so akin of like how you draw an eye than you might think. So if you draw an eye, what you're drawing is an opening into a cylindrical, like an object in the middle. So it's just a little slit in a sphere. That's all you're seeing. You're seeing a slit of the entire eye. That is what you're seeing when you're drawing an eye. Right? You have the eyeball, but you're only seeing part of it. The mouth is very similar. Right? The mouth is just an opening in a round surface, which is the round surface of your mouth muscle is pretty round. And then when you want to draw lips, and like just draw them inside of your eye shape. And you get perfect lips every time. You can treat the eyeball lid just like the little muzzle part that you have. It's round. You have a little bit of space for your under, like the under the lip, and then you just put a chin. And it gives you the perfect anatomy. Incredibly easy. Now, in order to make it more stylized and like make like different facial expressions, all you gotta do is think about it like an angry cyclops. Let's make an angry face. Actually, let's make a happy face. We're gonna make an angry cyclops. Rah. Remember, it's round. A very angry cyclops. So if we do an angry cyclops for this bottom part of our mouth, and these parts connect to the nose, and then just add negative space to create our teeth, you end up with really fun, very cool mouths that are anatomically correct. And you don't have to worry about the roundness of it and the spacing of here. Because if you just consider it like an eyelid, it's going to be really easy for you to just map it out like that. So let's try this a couple different ways. We're going to draw a couple different angry, like happy cyclops eyes, or angry cyclops, sad cyclops. Let's do some profile cyclopses. Right? So we're going to take all these little cyclopses and just make them into mouths by taking the upper line, overlapping it, and then drawing your lips inside. And that's if you want lips. If you don't want lips, you don't even have to do that. The upper lip will always overlap the bottom lip, so always draw a little bit of a shadow at the edges. It's always, they connect at the same points, but the top one overlaps the bottom lip most of the time. Let's say this one. No, you have the little thing. Da da da. You have your nose. Can you draw one with big lips? Sure. We'll draw this one with big lips. Since this one is very open, I can create voluptuous lips by just drawing my lips inside the lines. If you don't want lips at all, you don't need to have lips. But no, it's sometimes it helps with the depth. but it's not needed. Right, and these connect to the sides. So you already got those muscles. This is rounded already. This is rounded and into your chin. So you get a lot of information from thinking of it like a little cyclops instead of thinking about it like a the whole like right? This is what we're taught. We're taught that mouths are like this, that our top lip is like this, and then this is like this. When all reality, all you have to do is draw like a rubber band and then draw lips inside. Rubber band, lips inside. What do you mean by, and how do you go about learning anatomy? We talked about this yesterday. I think it was on stream. So we talked about this yesterday. We went over the entire process of how to learn something from drawing a circle and how you have to think in order to progress. So if you think in the form of a circles, right? And for circles and shapes and like squares, you're at this stage. Now, when you start thinking about things with dimension, right, with depth, not necessarily knowing like 1, 2, 3 point perspective. No, just learning how to draw something from the front and the back is a gigantic step in your, like this will literally make everything else easy. Once you learn this, then you start modifying those little shapes a little bit. You start extending it, squashing it, and then keeping that same consistency. I try to avoid sharp edges because it's hard to actually teach someone how edges change depending on a surface, right? It's hard to tell people to explain this, but it's easier for them to just go around the shape. Because it's round, there's no edges, they don't have to worry about that. So you just go around the shape and you try to like connect one side to the other. After you learn that, I tell people to start combining them. So start making multiple circles and then just see how the lines overlap. Just get used to it and drawing like 1, 2, 3 little circles, and just get used to drawing little beanbag shapes. So once you do this, you can do this. Once you do this, you should try this. Once you get this good, then you can start learning how to draw more complex shapes, because everything can be based on a beanbag. Everything can be based on a beanbag. Legs, and this is rudimentary, of course, you know, but legs, torsos, arms can be all based on a beanbag shape. So if you can do this, you can do this, then you can do this, then you can do this. Now, once you learn that, it's all about learning anatomy at that point. At that point, then you have to understand different aspects of anatomy and what makes up those things. So once you have your beanbag, you got to start realizing first your hard surfaces on your body, which is your skull, your rib cage, your hip bones, and your bones, right? All the bones in your body are the ones that create bumps. They create lumps, they create crevices, they create little like indentations. Those are your bones. Your muscles, and your muscles too if you are like a muscly inclined person, but most of the time, the ones that like poke out of your body are going to be your bones. Now, learning how to place those bones within that beanbag is very easy. Once you learn how to draw a beanbag, all you do is take that little connection of that first circle and cut out a little rib cage shape. And then for the bottom, all you do is give it a little bit of underwear. Just give it underwear by wrapping a line around it like a thong. That's going to give you your little space for your groin or your genitals, and then the leg spacing for your body. Because your legs come out in an angle, right? They don't come out completely straight. And then we talked about all this yesterday. So this stream is on YouTube, so you guys can go see this stream. It should be there. Go watch it. I teach everything from scratch. Like literally, if you do not know how to draw, that is going to be a fantastic first stream for you guys to watch. Okay. Yeah, then we talked a lot about like facial expressions and like just body proportions and how to start mapping out things without style and then applying style as if it was just like inking or coloring, like seeing style as a final step to your design is very beneficial for all of you that are heavily like so focused on just creating a certain specific style without wanting to take the time to understand the anatomy and all the things that go along with learning how to draw style. A style, in all essences and shapes and purposes, is just someone that understands anatomy and knows how to break it in a very fashionable way. That is what style is. Okay? That could be animal anatomy, that could be human anatomy, that could be anatomy like for spaceships and stuff like that. Your style is just that. And you, as an artist, should have the ability to switch between styles easily because it's just something you add at the end of your design. It's not something that you like should be thinking about as you're constructing your composition and your like setting. It's something that you're like, okay, well, I want this to be more like punk rockish. Okay, cool. At this point, I just add a mohawk. Now this guy is like more punky style. Oh, what, you want to make him futuristic? Cool. Then we'll just give him some glasses and then we'll give him some earrings or whatever, and then we'll give him like a gold tooth, right? At like whatever point you decide what you want your design to look like, that's gonna be the style time, the time to like choose your style. But when you're constructing it and you're coming up with your figure and you're coming up with like what you want to draw instead of like thinking about like when I'm just drawing like a pinup, right? And I'm just thinking I'm just gonna draw a random little pinup doing something. I just draw random shapes and then I try to come up with something from them. Doing this becomes incredibly easier once you know what you're drawing. When you're not guessing what you're doing, it becomes a lot easier to be able to draw it. If you find yourself very confused as to like what, or how people achieve a certain thing, study it. Like give it a shot, like practice it. Attempt to do it without even understanding it and see if you can actually figure it out. Most of the time, a lot of us just learn through doing. Right? We learn through just literally getting our hands dirty and then just going at it. But anatomy plays a big role in your design process, especially if you're drawing characters. If you're drawing a lot of like just abstract stuff, then yeah, whatever. Like you don't need anatomy. If you're making something up, like you can just make up the anatomy. Right? Like that's perfectly valid and solid, like and perfectly okay. But if you're going to base things off like real humans or like real people and like you want to be able to draw better, then why not just spend an hour or two a day practicing your anatomy and then just see your artwork progress beyond your beliefs in like 6 months? Like you will not even recognize your like yourself in 6 months if you just dedicate 6 months to learning. You'll like But not just like be like, oh, okay, I'm just gonna take some classes. Like, no, don't expect classes to help you, like, to help you improve. You need to improve by putting your time in, analyzing your work, being self-critical, and knowing that, you know, you have room to grow. That is one of the most hardest things to understand as an artist, especially if you already established. Holy shit, if you already like know that your artwork is cool, it's going to be even harder for you to break out of that because you already have that dopamine hit every time that you post something. So you're going to be like, "Oh, well, why do I have to like go back and like draw like shit when I can just draw in my style and like people love me for it?" I fell in that trap for 15 years. So don't do that. I have a problem. I can't draw ears. Ears. Ears? I guess ears are a little bit complex. When we look at an ear, what are we looking at, right? At the most base level, it's just a little like hole inside of our ear. Yeah. This is cartilage at the most base level. This is all cartilage. And this is a canal where you hear, right? And you normally draw them for your like to be able to put like earrings and stuff like that if you are accessorizing. So it's just little like circles going around that shape. You can have like gouges that sit inside of your cartilage. So at the base level, the ear is essentially just a little box. It's a little irregular shaped box, but it's a box. Right? And inside that box, if you think about it in a couple ways, it makes it really easy. Think about this box having a little frame. Give that frame width. And then give it a little stump. And you have now successfully drawn an ear better than most people will ever draw an ear. Now you can stylize that by giving it the little swoopy parts, but it's going to be the same thing. Sometimes you don't even have to connect the lines. And then after you have your ridge around your shape, you can draw your canal, your ear canal, where your like goes to your brain or something. And then from that, it has a little bridge. Boom. The little bridge normally goes all the way down here. So let's draw this a little bigger. Ear, ridge, right? A little ridge. The ridge has a little bump and it has a hook normally. But if you want to simplify it, just draw the little ridge into whatever earlobe area you want. Some people don't even have these, so don't even draw it there if it doesn't have it. So far, our ear consists of just a little ridge with a little bump. And then from here, we can draw a bridge. Whee! And then shade around that bridge so that it seems like this bridge is going into perspective. And that little ridge is just like your little like inside lines inside of your ear. So you get a lot of negative space. You get one little shape that's bumping out inside, and you get your little ridge. How are you going to justify these thighs? Oh, perfectly fine. I can just map these back to like the actual hip bone. That just means that her leg muscles are going more so like this. And then this is probably where a standard body would be, but she just got that kadunkadunk. So I added all this as a style choice. No, I'm not doing it out of, I just did it because I drew a random shape. I can turn anything into a pinup. Once you understand like positioning and all that stuff, it just becomes easy to draw things like this. Kind of see a scarf though for this one. Like if you're ever wondering how people draw so quickly and they draw efficiently and they draw with style so cool, it's because, they took the time to understand all that stuff. Like, if you're wondering why it's easy for me to draw this, it's not because I'm a naturally talented artist. I'm not. I am really not. I'm like the epiphany of somebody that's not naturally talented. Like, I have to repeat the same thing quadrillion times before it even sticks. Right? So it's just eyeball. Angry Cyclops. Turns into pinup lips. Upper line. The mask that we talked about for the cheekbone. Then my eyeballs will be inside of here. And then my eyeballs have slits, and that slit has the style that I want for my character. She's cross-eyed. I see these things, but it's just a bit hard to put on paper. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to put it. If art and creating art was easy, everybody would do it. But just like not everybody can do like electricity work, not everybody can do plumbing. We got to work hard to be able to do what we do. Like it's might be easier because we're creative people, but at the end of the day, we still have to put the time in to learn what we're doing. The mask. So a mask technique is when you have your face, and then you draw essentially what is going to simplify these following aspects. You know how you have like a skeletal system and you have like a skull underneath your body, right? Like we all have that, right? So I kept on thinking over and over, how can I simplify this area? How can I make this into such an easy, swoopy thing that I don't have to think about it ever? And I don't like doing the whole drawing and then measuring everything with eyeballs. Like, I hate that so much. It's just so annoying. So I was just like, okay, I'm just going to make something that makes sense to me. If we have these shapes and this information right here can tell me everything about a human face. So why not simplify it and then just create a little mask? The mask will have the little indent for the nose bridge that leads to your eyebrows. This gives you your eye sockets, which gives you space for your eyeballs, be it small, be it big, however you want your eyeballs to be inside of that space. So it opens up style choices galore. And then it gives you a space for your nose. Now, once you have this information, it's very easy to map out the side of the face because it doesn't go past much more out of your cheekbone. So you have your eye socket, which already tells you your cheekbone, which already tells you the side of your face, because you go to your temples, and that's when your face curves back to your skull, like to the back where your brain is. Then from there, from behind the cheekbone comes the jaw. And however style-wise, imagine I want a big chin. Not taking knives, sorry. If you want a small chin, if you want a big chin, right? All that gets applied after all that. Like, you don't even have to decide on the size of the head until you finish all this stuff. So you can just draw your faces up until this point, just to the nose part. Figure that out really quickly. And then figure out what you want to do with the mouth. Because the mouth moves a lot. The mouth changes. Like, you can have a mouth like that. You can have a mouth like this. And it would still look good. Now, there's one more step to this. Whenever you're drawing in profile, your mask has a cutout right in the middle where the eyes are going to go. This is to identify the change for your nose bridge and the top part of your eyebrows, and also that little tiny gap that happens in your skeletal system that has your cartilage come out from. So you can simplify it by cutting the mask in the middle. So practice, but with the intention of learning, not just drawing for drawing's sake. Drawing for drawing's sake just reinforces bad habits. Drawing with the purpose of learning something is going to be the key factor here. After your mask, you have your cheekbone. Your cheekbone leads down to your jaw. If you're wondering where this little curvature happens in the jaw, because that's something that like annoyed the shit out of me, because I never understood where to draw that little curve, right? Whenever you have your jaw. Well, let me explain it. Let's just break it down. Normally you have your chin, then you have your teeth, and then your teeth go back into your molars. And that is when it curves up. So when you're thinking about your characters, think about your character's muscle structure and find the back teeth, and that's where that should be going. So this bottom bend is only going as far out as where you draw your mouth. So if my mouth is here, my upper mouth, this bottom jaw is going to hinge at this point, first of all. It's going to hinge at the ear. So if it opens up, it's going to hinge over here. Oh, you can't see it. Right? So if we have a normal mouth, it's going to be like that. You're going to have your teeth up to here. So that's roughly where we're going to bend that part. This also changes a little bit depending on how open your mouth is, of course. So it changes a little, not much. But that's where you put that part of the mouth. How to draw the lower appendages. You mean like legs? We didn't do legs. We only did arm. We did hands. We'll have to do 100 leg challenge at some point. Let's draw some legs though. That sounds good. Let's draw some legs. Hi, Rod and Chet. Okay, let's read some comments because I've been neglecting it. Ryan Mall, I'm really enjoying the live streams lately. I owe my return to filling sketchbooks and abandoning fancy art supplies to your Instagram. And the versatile round pick. Yeah, hey, well, you're welcome. Boo, hi, conversely, I only use Rotring technical pens and $100 cotton rag. Yeah. Yeah, then if you can only create with that, then I feel sad, man. Like if you feel like you can only create to that level of artwork that you do, I don't know what you do. But if you think that the only way to get that is through that type of material, then you're limited. So that means that if those materials are gone, they disappear from the face of the planet, your art just literally like took a gigantic dive. Because you base something, you think that something's above you. That you think you have this elitist mentality that comes along with knowledge. Right? You think that just because you know more, you know how to use those materials better. Cool, that's awesome, that's fantastic, that's probably the case. But guess what? I can create this artwork, this type of artwork, anywhere, at any given point. I can steal a pen from a bank and go and create my type of art. I am not subjected to materials. I am not and I can take the materials that you use and make them awesome too. Right? It's not like I don't see materials as my all to of my art. It's just a tool, an art tool. It's not an art maker. It's an art tool. Without the like mindset and the knowledge behind it, your art tool is nothing. Angela Harmon, hard to get motivated and excited when you have crippling depression. You know, That is true. I was in a very depressed state for a very long time. And I can tell you it's a fucking devastating blow. Like, it really, really does hit you hard. And, but you know what? Like, what got me through that was trying my hardest to express that through my art. Right? Getting good at taking those emotions and trying to channel them. Like, when you're really sad, when you're like furiously sad, like the type of sad that you don't even know what to do anymore. You're like so frustrated and you're like angry at yourself, right? You're like crying and you're like pouring your eyes out, but you're so frustrated at yourself that you don't even know what to do. You're like, nah. But you're holding it in because you don't want to just unleash your bullshit on other people. So you hold it in and it steams up, and then you're like, you don't know what to do, and you're just frustrated and angry and sad and pissed off and unmotivated, and you feel like everything you do is a mistake. Does that like sound accurate? That sounds about accurate if I'm not mistaken. Right? Like, why can't I draw hands? Why can't I draw hands? Well, that frustration is just, it's natural. It comes with learning. We experience it in the way of depression a lot more because we put a lot of emotional toll when it comes down to our design process, right? Especially if you're like a little like bleeding heart, like I am. Like, I share my emotions with everyone in the world. Like, I post on my Instagram things that I probably should not. But, like, just through my drawings, because I need those drawings out of me. I take that frustration and I channel it through my drawings so that I don't have it in my body anymore. Right? So I can just eliminate that, move on, and then just hopefully, like, feel a tiny, minuscule amount better by the time that I'm done. Draw a stick story. You have the best stories. See, I never considered myself a storyteller. All right, let's keep going. Chris Cook, good evening, all. That Spider-Man sketch. Oh, wow, that's like from the beginning. You not watching USA versus Wales? No, I don't even know if that's like a rugby thing or like a football thing or something. The Silky, I have learned more in 2 minutes of watching Angry Cyclones than I have in art class. The Angry Cyclops technique is so fun. Like, it's just, like, if you have trouble drawing mouths, just draw Angry Cyclopses. And then add negative space. And then you have, like, a perfect mouth every time. An angry mouth. Lower eyelid, upper eyelid. Yeah, it's just like a super easy way to do it. I feel the same way, Silky. A C with a 9 in it. That's best ear. Yes. No, I understand what you're saying. Like a C, what is it? Was that a 9? A C with a 6 in it. So we have a C with a 6? Yeah, that's a cute little ear. Maybe backwards would be better, because then that would be like representative of like the actual anatomy. So maybe like it's like a reverse 6 over a C, and that would make it a little bit cooler, more accurate at least. But yeah, that's a very valid way of drawing ears. Just drawing like a little tiny thing like that. I use that all the time. All the time. But the understanding for me that this is a physically round shape is the kicker. This is what people don't realize. You have to think like this. You can draw any way you want, but you got to think like this if you want to understand things easier. It's the World Cup, not interesting. No, the Angry Cyclops technique is not, it's not on the video yet. I guess this is technically the video for that, so, yeah. Where are the legs? Damn, you're getting a little bossy there. I'm going to expect someone to say please here. Jesus. I am not a trained monkey, first of all. I don't just do things on command. And I don't appreciate just being demanded. So, like, people just forget that you guys are getting this for free. You're not getting charged. You're not. So at least be respectful. How about that? Is that like a good compromise? Yeah. Thank you. All right. So legs. We're gonna go with legs. Legs are interesting. Legs come out of your hip bone. Your hip bones are as easily to identify as just drawing underwear on your beanbag shape. Okay. So you have your beanbag, and you have your underwear line, and you have your rib cage. Cool. The legs come from these angles right here, from these side angles. There's a little bit of a gap in between the legs. People just normally don't have the legs touching right away. The way that they do touch is when they have muscle tissue or fatty tissue that builds up around the muscle. So if you're really have like really wide legs, you might have really wide legs. But that's not necessarily like your muscle or your bones. It's just the fat tissue and muscle tissue that builds up around and outside of your body. So your shape in general ends up looking more like this. The connection to the hip bones. So it ends up being like a little cylinder. Now, this shape is not necessary. It's just from this angle it looks like this. When you go to the side, it looks more like this, right? You have your butt, like this actually cuts in, and then you have your booty muscle, and then you have the back of your leg, and then this connects to your like kneecap. So it gets a little bit more complex when it goes to the side. But overall, you can really think about it as just one big shape, especially if you are drawing the booty in there at the same time. So you can have your hip bone, and you can have the girth of the butt and the hips going down to your legs. If you're seeing this from the other side, from this side, you would see a little bit of a bump right here inside. And that's what I like to call the squish zone. This area inside the thigh is the squish zone. Why do I call it the squish zone? It's because whenever you get close to your thighs, or whenever you get to your hip bone, this area squishes around your bone. So when you have your hip bone area, and you have positions like crossing your legs, right? This area right here squishes against your hip and creates these little pockets. This is because a soft tissue is hitting a hard surface. So you get this little overlap. Then you get your hip bones coming up and stuff, your rib cage, stuff like that. Okay, so that's why you draw this little area separately, and it looks really nice when it's connected to the booty from the back. It gives like the little tiny like soup right here, and a compression point, so it doesn't just look like a big cylinder. Think about it like a little bicep inside of your arm, inside of your leg. That is essentially what that kind of is, kind of. Right? Then from there, you connect to your knee. So the way that it connects to your knee, you have your initial shape. You can think about it as part of your upper leg. You can think of your upper muscle thigh and your kneecap in one big swoop. You can. And I'll show you why in a second. The leg underneath the calf connects a little bit above where the kneecap hits because it connects behind the kneecap and behind the thigh muscle. Okay? So that's why you overlap it a little bit, but it's about the same distance from here to here. But the overlap is what makes people confused. Or they draw the legs really weird because they draw them like robots, like layered like this. Because this is how we learn. Right? We learn like this, and they expect us to know this. When it's more so like this shape is way back here, and this shape overlaps like that, much more. This is just legs. Like, you can make, there's no difference between women legs and male legs. It's just the angles that you draw them in. Now, let me explain how you draw more feminine legs and more masculine legs. It comes down to your hip bones and the amount of width that you give it. So if you have two of the same, we're going to start with the same hip bones, little underwear lens. If you make one more angled than the other, right? Let's make it even more so, and then you enhance the width of the leg, you end up with a more pin-up-y type of shape. If you don't do that, if you keep it normal and you just make the legs less curvy and leave space for the groin, you end up with more male-looking ones. But this is just as easily turned into a female or a woman or a man or anything in between by simply creating extra lines or extra curvature or whatever. But it's just a nice, easy way to map it out so that it starts making sense. Right? So this overlap is very important because the calf does not connect to the bottom of the kneecap. The kneecap is kind of like floating in the thigh, honestly. Like if you, the way that I've seen it, like you have your like leg muscle. Like your thigh muscle is like a weird like muscle like that, right? And then at the top, and the top of it is, they curves like this and it goes into your kneecap bone. Then you have a little muscle right here that comes from underneath and it kind of glides around your kneecap. You have this little like tiny thing and that shows up whenever you're like bending your knee and you get that little curvature right there. This curvature is that part right here. So that's what overlaps the calf muscle that's behind here, pressed against, and that's why this is curving up, by the way. So you have an object underneath pushing an object on top. So therefore it creates little bumps and stuff like that. Well, once you have that sorted out and you realize that this is essentially part of your upper leg, your calf connects to the back of that, behind that. And then you have the bottom part of your thigh. So that is what's going on with your legs. So whenever you're simplifying it, you can simplify this really quickly by doing something like that. This line is this. This line is this. And then you can draw the leg underneath. So once you start realizing that this is how anatomy works, now you can start stylizing it, right? Now let's say that I want to draw like a really cool graffiti, like street art type of like leg or something. I'm going to be like, bam, 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 bam. So if I have this and it goes all the way down here, fuck it. All I got to do is identify, can't see it. Let's just make a really randomly shaped one and then make this into a leg. So now I know that different parts are going to be different points. This could be the calf. So that means that this is my thigh. And this could be just like a really long foot. Like Converse or whatever. Some pants. And that ends up looking like a foot that could go to a character that has really long legs. Okay. So once you understand how to build something, then you get to stylize it, because then you actually know what you're going to be drawing. And it actually comes out more accurate, and you can actually replicate that in many different ways. Like if I wanted to take this guy, right? And I told you like, okay, let's draw him looking, just like bending over or something. Since I know how everything works in three-dimensional space, I just map out my shape, my underwear. And then I just map out my shapes for my legs. And I have a backwards view. It's picking up something or something. Can't see it. There you go. I know that my hip bones are this, so it's going to create this overlap. I can give it clothing. I can not give it clothing if I don't want to. I can make shorts instead. Skirt. Whatever you feel like. The leg, the calf connects to the back of the leg, right? So it's not gonna be. It literally becomes this from behind. Right? It goes to the back of the thigh. It overlaps the kneecap, so it creates this little, bumpy part. The butt is just a muscle that's attached to the bottom part of your hips or to your, to your legs, and that overlaps everything else. And therefore, it's easy to map out things like this. Once you see things like that, it becomes a lot easier to map them out. Let's do some more heads. The stream has been about positioning, anatomy, faces, and overall though the main theme is going to be like learning how to draw something from the front and the back, so that you guys get used to being able to learn how to like draw horns and all that shit without like having to like not know where to put them. I am the devil. I challenge you to a violent fight. I also like drawing things in many different ways. Do you hate when people do that? Do what? I made a deal with the devil once. He's a pretty nice guy. No, it doesn't bother me, but like if you're doing it with the sense of style, like if you're like understanding that that horn is not going to line up with this one, right? If you're doing it out of style choice, awesome. Fantastic. Like go more power to you, man. Like draw your style, do whatever you want to. But if you're doing this because you think that that's the right way to draw it, then that's wrong. Like you're essentially cutting yourself out of like the ability to actually start perceiving things a little bit better. It happens a lot, especially with animals, where people don't know where to place the ears. but it's as easy as just tracing through your shape and then just drawing your shape. You're drawing shapes. Remember, we practiced this a million times. Basic shapes make up everything, right? But we very rarely ever apply this to our drawings. Like, this would not be hard for you to understand if you understood that this is just literally like cylinders. But the problem is, we think we know this, but we don't, and then we have trouble doing it, but we don't go back and revisit it. We don't go back and learn it because we think we know it. So when you think you know something, but you don't know it, you end up in a loop where you keep on reinforcing the fact that you don't know the thing, and then you end up not knowing how to draw shit at all. But you learn how to stylize it really cool. And when you learn how to stylize something really cool, you get praise for it. And when you get praised for something that looks really cool, you want to draw it more. And it reinforces you not learning how to draw, but you learn how to like mimic someone else's style really, really cool. Well, it's really important to be attuned with one's body. Yeah. Well, I haven't even seen the chat. Like the Silky, nope. It's all about anatomy. Angela Harmon, well, we're starving artists. Sometimes I feel like I'm learning something, then I come to the draw the next day, and I'm like, I've forgotten it. Yeah, it's reinforcement. Like if you learn something right now, like ideally you should be drawing. Like ideally you should be sketching. Right? If you're like sitting there just watching your phone, you're kind of like doing yourself a disservice. Like you should have like your little sketchbook or a notepad or like something along, so if I draw something that makes something click, you can just follow along and do it and immediately repeat it a million times, so that you can cement that in your brain and have that be part of like you now, right? Once you learn how to draw something, it's very hard to unlearn it. It's very hard. Like you actively have to like not want to like keep it up to be able to unlearn it. So that's just something that just comes with practice and being used to drawing more often too. You got to make it a habit. Angela Harmon, I have DHD and CPTSD, so yeah, my memory is horrible. Well, then just carry a bunch of references with you, right? Like carry a little book of references, and then you can always, or screenshot everything. Everything that inspires you, just screenshot it so that you have a thing that you can go back to whenever you don't have like something to draw from. Chris Cook, I get that too early, too, Emily. I think having a purpose to my learning helps, like an end goal project, and using the lessons to help develop my ideas helps me apply it and use it more. Yeah. A goal, okay, drawing without a goal is kind of like running a marathon with no finish line. It's really good for you, and it probably is healthy and like good for you to practice, but it's not going to really do anything for you. You're not going to get anywhere. So always like try to do this. If you are, like stuck and don't know how to proceed, just go on your sketchbook and be like, okay, today I'm going to practice 3D shapes. Cool. And anatomy. And then that whole page should be just you going on Pinterest, you going on Google, you going on Instagram, finding all the cool tutorials that you have wanted to like replicate and practice, right? I personally love the ones from Taco. Wow. Yeah, this guy, like his name is Taco something on Instagram, and he is just amazing at teaching. Like I love watching like just like the way that they break things down. And before I get this, yes, I have, and I am able to draw real stuff, realistic and not hyper realistic, but I've just never developed those skill sets because I've never needed to. But it's definitely fun to do some life drawing once in a while and just like blow people's brains. just seeing them like copying and like using a little bit more of my like cartooning sense of styling with a little bit of the life drawing like aspect of it. It becomes incredibly fun to watch people like go like, what? And I normally just give the models all the drawings anyways. Okay, I think we are getting close to the end of our stream because we have finished at least a page and a half of sketches today. So as we get closer to the end, I'd like to say the same things that I normally do, and that is thank you so much for keeping me company. I do look forward to spending time with my, sketching buddies every single day. So I appreciate all you peeps out there that actually pay attention to what I have to say, and then that you actually learn from what I have to say and teach. Thanks to you guys, I am able to do what I do for a living. Soon enough, there is ways that you guys can help support, and that comes in the way of subscribing to my channels. There is subscription services on Instagram if you guys feel like getting a little bit more goodies and teachings from me. And you guys also get to dictate the terms of what we do and talk about in the streams every day. So it's a good, fun community, really cool peeps, and I give out free goodies every month. So it's a $5 thing. It helps me out a million times fold. And it's going to be something that I'd like to encourage people to do if you guys do want to help support. I do these every day at 11 o'clock Pacific. And we just go until we kind of fill up a page. So we normally choose a theme. So if you get in early, you get to choose like a little bit more of the direction of how our stream is going to go. So tomorrow at 11 o'clock in the morning, you guys get to learn a little bit more, draw a little bit more with me. And if you guys share my stream with other people, that is the best way that you guys can help me out. So if you have buddies that are learning how to draw or could use some help, share my stuff with them. It's free content, and there's hundreds of videos online at this point. So you guys can go on YouTube and find an entire library of just resources to help you guys become better, more successful, and less dependent artists on companies and jobs and stuff like that. So this is all pencil. This not pencil, pen. So today we drew with a round stick pen, my little glove, and a whole shit ton of imagination. So thank you guys so much for your support. There is links to my art books in my Instagram story. So if you guys want to go to my Instagram, go check it out. If not, I believe the link in TikTok works. I don't know. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it doesn't. I don't care. There's books that you guys can buy if you guys want to pursue it. There's ebooks, there's printed books, there's goodies, there's t-shirts and stuff like that as well through the links that I have provided in my Instagram. And with that, the spiel is done. I can stop pretending to do the whole give me money. Jesus Christ, I hate that shit. But it's necessary because I want to make this into a living. But yeah, I have a YouTube. It's Rodgon the Artist. It should be under the same name as my account. I am the only Rodgon the Artist in the world. So I am quite easy to find. You guys have a wonderful day. Thank you so much. And I will doodle with you guys tomorrow. Later.